China has cried foul after the United States signed a $150 million deal with the Mekong nations to build infrastructure along the Mekong River. China says that the US, who is not a relevant party in the issue, is trying to affect Chinese influence in the region for the sake of politics. The statement in itself exposes the hypocrisy of the Chinese, who have funded similar projects in Pakistan occupied Kashmir as well as Gilgit Baltistan. So, should India now lead the offense against Chinese in Mekong region and support the United States projects along this river? And will that send a message to China that India has the ability to counter all of its expansionist moves? We'll get some unique perspective from our guest. Joining me on the platform is Sumit Peer, political commentator, Joyita Basu, editor of the Sunday Guardian, Major General Dhruv Katoch, defense and strategic expert, director of the India Foundation, also joins us. And last but by no means the least, Commodore G.J. Singh, former Indian Navy officer, senior defense analyst, is also with us on the platform. Major General Katoch, let me start by asking you a very simple question. Can the China foreign policy be summed up in perhaps this phrase, do as I say, but not as I do? So you'll have to unmute yourself.
Yes, Vineet, absolutely. And this is not something which we are witnessing now. I have been observing this phenomenon of the Chinese for many, many years now. Even when their think tanks came and we would interact with them, on many occasions I've interacted with their think tanks when they came to India. This particular aspect came out very, very clearly. Every time the emphasis of the Chinese was what is ours, what is yours we'll discuss about. And in any aspect, now you're looking at what they're doing in Indonesia. So they're claiming those waters. At some point of time, they'll take those waters and then they'll say, these are ours, let's discuss what you have further. So I think this is a policy which they have consistently followed. The change which is taking place now is that they are being challenged. And I will make bold to say that this challenge really started with India putting up the challenge, specifically in Galwan on 15th of June. And from there, I think the world has changed. The entire vision of the world has changed. And perhaps people are saying, as India has taken such a bold stand, we can take it too. So now you find even the ASEAN countries getting up together, getting up the will to fight this bully, the regional bully. And I'm very glad that the United States has taken up this initiative, which I think is a very good initiative. The people of the region deserve support. And China is trying to do a sort of a blackmail in the sense that being the upper riparian, by control of water, they try to affect the relationships on the downstream countries. This is exactly what China intends to do in the Himalayas, which I have been speaking of time and again. They wish to control the waters of the Himalayas so that they can keep a total control and make the rest of South Asia subservient to Chinese designs. That is why I think it is important that they be stopped. And that is why it is important that India must stand with the ASEAN countries. India must stand with this Mekong initiative of the United States and also become a partner with this initiative.
Absolutely. Germany became a nuisance, Joyita, and that's why World War II took place. Germany was a nuisance around World War I as well. And that's when the Rhine Valley was taken from them. And that became another bone of contention for Adolf Hitler. Do you think when it comes to China and their pathological feeling, or rather this gloating feeling that they have of achieving too much too soon, is perhaps made them pathologically extremely ambitious, even for their own good?
Well, Vineet, it's increasingly looking like under Xi Jinping, China is treading a path of what they call wolf warrior. I mean, they call it could be wolf warrior, diplomacy and all that. It's basically they're just going around as a bully. In fact, not a regional bully. It's becoming like a global bully. So it has to be taken on. And you see, it is very interesting that increasingly in normal public discourse, when we are talking about China, increasingly the comparison is with Hitler. and Hitler's Germany, Nazi Germany. So you see, something has terribly gone wrong with China. They have forgotten about that Deng Xiaoping's motto about, bide your time. I mean, they think that they have had biding their time, and Xi Jinping is moving on to, being aggressive. As for this particular specific move, you say, I see it as an extension of India's Act East policy, because this is the area that India is trying to get into ASEAN. And also it has ramifications in terms of Quad, for example, formation. So this is a very, very significant move. And we should be pursuing it very, with all earnestness.
Absolutely. And Commodore GJ is saying, why do you think the United States had to come and lead this pact? Why couldn't India, in fact, suggest something similar sooner?
I would say it is, first of all, because America has got its interest in South China Sea. It is leading the coalition. At the same time, America wants to build up pressure on all sides. Of course, we are with him. And at the same time, I would say that China's policy of embarking on so many challenges together at the same time is actually following the path of misadventure, because they cannot cope up with the kind of fronts they have opened globally, especially in Southeast Asia, starting from Gwadar down to India, to Indonesia, and in the South China Sea region. So therefore, since the saying goes, everything is fair in love and war, I would say that what America has done with this pact with the Mekong River nations is the step in the right direction, because they have been trying to use it militarily, as General Katoch mentioned, that they were withholding upstream water flow into this Mekong River. As a result, it was causing a lot of drought in the area, where you have these countries like Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and of course, the region also covers some region of Burma. So you see, this all is done at the behest of the China's Communist Party, because they want to subdue these nations. They are smaller nations, they are weak nations as compared to China. And the Chinese policy is basically to subdue whatever they can, by hook or crook, I would call it. And I think this formation of this Mekong pact, or this togetherness that they have come together as one body, is putting up a wall against China now, that China cannot do its will as it feels like. It cannot impose its will in every area, like they have been trying to impose their cartographic will on us, which we are not accepting. And I would say that the way India has responded to China with the mirror-to-mirror deployment, with the strong political leadership that we have at the center, we have not flinched, let me put it this way. We have not chickened out. We have stood against China, and this has inspired the other smaller countries like Vietnam, and even today Mongolia has begun to oppose China, because China's expansionist policies are evil designed. It clearly shows a malefied intent. It clearly shows that they are all out to subdue all the smaller countries, sovereign nations which are surrounding them as their neighbors, and dominate on them, which is not permissible in this world where we have the rule-based order in the world. Everything goes by certain rules, regulations. For example, you just mentioned about a Chinese vessel coming into the EEZ exclusive economic zone of Indonesia. Indonesia rose up to the challenge, faced and challenged their intrusion into the EEZ. This is the result of what we have been doing. We have set an example before the rest of the world that if we can rise up to the misadventure or the challenges posed by China, the smaller countries can also do that. And I think this is required because China's Communist Party's intentions doesn't seem to be right. They think wrong. Their think tank seems to be have its priorities misplaced. They have their confidence misplaced, judgment misplaced. They are not thinking right. They think by all means they can, whatever they have, by hook or crook, they'll be able to dominate this world, which is, I would call a kink in their thinking. It cannot happen. It is not possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sumit,
I think
as Mr. In fact, Mr. Nalapat is not with us on the show, but he's pointed out many times that Vietnam should be taken as the example. A small country, which has taken on China, and the last war that China also fought was against Vietnam. And like Commodore J.J. Singh also said that Mongolia also is now finding the spine, if we can say, to take on China. It's a landlocked country, Sumit, and they still have a navy. And they've gone on to say, if there's need, we will take on China. What does this mean for India and the kind of coalition that the United States has initiated, the Mekong Initiative? Perhaps India also should be building something similar. Sumit, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Vineet, the point here is, if you look at Mongolia, Mongolia is 7th largest country by size. And let's not forget that, from Genghis Khan to Kublai Khan, they have given China the nightmares. The Great Wall of China was built to protect China from Mongols because they could never handle Mongol invasion. And still with a population of 2 million right now, or 3 million, that's the size, there's still a big potential problem from Chinese. And if you are Chinese, they really shiver of Mongols because they know how dangerous they can get. That's about the Mongolia. Vineet, on your show, I had said, we have set, you take a ball to a top of a mountain and set it rolling. The avalanche will start, the snow and the height will do the rest. That is exactly what India did. We started that avalanche against the China. Our government did it. Now you see all other countries. I have exactly predicted that you see all these countries will follow up. They will all, come and do their part. They just need a resilient power, a force of India in the Asia to stand up to China, and which we have successfully done. Because for the last 5 years, we have blunted their edges. They are just staying in the peaks, and I know counting mountain rats or hunting them, whatever they're doing, but they have not been able to take an inch of our land. That's the fact of life, and which world acknowledges them. Now, Vineet, asking you regarding the second part of the question about this river, this river is a very strategic river because it is a trans-boundary river between South Asia and East Asia, Vineet. It is the 7th largest river in the Asia. It is the 12th largest in the world. And if you look at its 114 million cusecs of water it dispenses, makes it the 10th biggest freshwater river in the world. Incidentally, 25% of the total freshwater fish are caught from this river. It is the biggest source of flora and fauna, second river in freshwater fish after Amazon. And it is the house to Irrawaddy dolphin, and it has more than 1,100 varieties of fish. So there's a lot of flora and fauna which is in it. Incidentally, Vineet, this river controls the livelihood of 60 million people. So that if you look at around the river, the livelihood of 60 million people is controlled. What was China trying to do? China was trying to come out about, what General rightly said. They were trying to build these dams. The moment you build these dams, you control the river. With it, you control the fish. With it, control the fauna. And with it, you control the lives of the people who are dependent on this river. And slowly, knowing from the China's past experience, if you look at the reefs, if you look at the islands, which are under China's control today, they've been all militarized. So today, illegal arms trade, flesh trade, human trafficking, everything was happening through this sphere of influence of China. The moment US comes in and gives them the money, we have India, which is right there. And Mike Pompeo, mentioned, they said like-minded countries like India, Australia and Japan. Geographically, India, Australia and Japan are not linked to this river. But when US puts the money, he takes these names. So it is also what Jayadaji rightly said, strengthening of the Quad, bringing more members into the fray and stopping this, design of China, where are they using water against the people of the native land. How can you stop people from their own water? This is absurd. This is what China has been doing. And even US says, now you have to release data of how much water are you releasing, how much water are you holding, what is the total amount of water, what is the amount of flora and fauna in the river. So when the money comes in, the support comes in, the names of Australia, Japan, India are coming in, this will be a big boost to it. We should welcome it, and we should stop this Chinese policy of river aggression and making the natives, thirsty for their own water. What the hell is happening in the world? And China has the audacity to question US. When you are sending your ZTE to steal data, when your apps steal the data of millions of users across the world, when your telecom companies are designed to steal the data, when you use your CCP's money to kill the industry of the local countries, and you are questioning US to do this. I mean, what on earth is wrong with you? There must be something which is terribly wrong in your thought process. Or, what I always say, opium must be very cheap there, either of the two. I don't know, Vinay, what is right.
General Katoch, but the question is, the Damocles sword that hangs above, especially our head, is that is this enough of a deterrence for China? Are they going to stop on their tracks to become the supernova, the alpha and the omega that they try to be in the world?
No, I think, you see, in my personal view, the Chinese are not going to stop. So we have to, as far as India is concerned, we will have to continue to work towards increasing both our economic power and our military power. Now, that is a given. But I think there is a third thing which we need to do now. We need to get on to making a more cohesive polity within the country on issues of national security and issues of vital national importance. Now, on all other issues, I think it is fair to state that the political parties must fight for getting up to the for getting up to be elected. But there are some issues where I think it has to be a total bipartisan support, and this defense of the country and our certain critical vulnerabilities. I don't think there can be any compromise on that, regardless of internal political differences. Now, I'm afraid this is the place which we still have some weaknesses. Commodore Singh mentioned very rightly about the strong political leadership which we have got today. We are fortunate we have a strong political leadership and a strong military to handle China as of now. And of course, the people of the country are united, but there are still political voices which are not speaking in the same tune. And I think therein lies the danger, because when push comes to shove, and if we are looking at a conflict this year or next year, or as Madhav Nalpat continually says, it is not a question of will we have a conflict. It is a question of when will we have the conflict. So that war is going to come, whether it is this year or 10 years from now or any time in between. So and we have to prepare for it. And my contention has always been the only way India can avoid war is to be prepared to fight war and win that battle. So once we are prepared to fight and win, the aggressor will never attack. This is the example which you learn from history when Alexander came and he had to fight a minor king called Porus in 326 years before BCE. And that was the time when the resistance which he got from a minor king made Alexander realize that the empires beyond are nowhere can we conquer them. Now, these are the lessons which I think have to be told to people. If you are strong, that is the only way to prevent war. It is not through diplomacy. It is not through politics. It has to be through military strength. And with your military strength, now your diplomats and your politicians get the power to achieve peace. Without that, I'm afraid you do not get peace.
Absolutely.
Absolutely right.
Joyita, it's important that everybody falls in line. The vision when it comes to taking on China, dealing with China, embracing the fact that our differences with China perhaps might never be settled unless and until India does show the element of a robust power, have to be understood by everyone. The defense minister is also going to be making a speech in the parliament tomorrow at noon. He's already apprised all parties of how important it is to stick together. Don't doubt their intentions. Don't question their actions. Just stick with the program and eventually we'll come through.
Vineet, if we put this in context of this Mekong Treaty, I mean, whatever they're trying to this kind of, they're trying to, this alliance they're trying to carve out, it's very important. It's very important for India. If you look at it in terms of the countries that are part of this, that the US is making an outreach to. Say, for example, I'm just going to take a little more time in terms of, say, Burma, Myanmar, and Thailand. Now, these two countries are very important in the Chinese scheme of things in terms of reaching the Bay of Bengal. If you look at it in strategic terms, China right now is confined inside the what is known as the first island chain, Taiwan and Philippines, right up to, although Vietnam is not an island. So China is not being able to come out into the ocean, and it has to come through that Malacca Strait and all. So that is a huge problem area for China. So what China has been doing, China has carved out this, they're making this China-Myanmar economic corridor, so that way they come straight to the Bay of Bengal. So China has a lot of influence on these countries. So US outreach to these countries checkmates China's presence over there. You see, the very fact that these countries are coming, are willing, more than willing, it's all about money after all. Let's not forget it. China is throwing a lot of money at these countries. But if the minute the US gets into the picture, India does not have that kind of money. The US has. The minute US gets into that picture over there, the China's entry, the plan to dominate the oceans, plan to dominate the Indian Ocean, the Indo-Pacific, that gets skirted right at the beginning. So that is a huge step. So in this particular way, it's all about encircling China. How do you counter China? China is the malign power. China is a power. So what you do, if China is trying to give you war on 2 fronts, you threaten China with war on 9 fronts, 10 fronts, 12 fronts, as many fronts as possible. And once the free world, the democratic world, not all of them are perhaps democracies, but also forces that are anti-China, they get together, China will have to stay inside its box. That is how you contain China. If you look at it, so this is the larger plan. And if India has to be part of it, India is doing its bit. But at the same time, it has to be a united fight against China. And that is where we are moving towards. And this is what China is afraid of, terribly.
Absolutely. In fact, we just have a couple of minutes left on the program. Commodore Singh, in your perspective, Joyita said that alliances are going to define how to deal with China and how distant can China be when it realizes that even if it tries to intimidate us, it's not going to work. And that's perhaps the only thing that China has been doing for so long.
I absolutely endorse all the points that Joyita has made. I think she has hit the nail on its head by bringing out that, first of all, what the countries, small countries like Burma, Indonesia, and Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, all are, they need financial help, and America is there in a position to give them. At the same time, she made a very valid point that China is trying to get hold of Bay of Bengal. As I know that there are certain islands, the north of Andamans, where they have put up their radar systems, which are very close to Burma. And the reason that China is trying to influence and sort of be friendly with Burma is actually to get a foothold in that region. Because if China can come even to the ports of Burma, which are very close to us, or for that matter, Indonesia, because the distance between the Andaman Islands, Port Blair, and the Indonesian coastline is not more than 100 nautical miles, which is not a big deal. It's not a big distance when it comes to the sea distances. So therefore, their idea of getting into the Bay of Bengal, on the Arabian Sea, they are already having a foothold in Gwadar. They have got a foothold, of course, in South China Sea because their coastline is there. So these are the designs with which China is moving forward to squeeze all these countries, actually to strangulate all these countries, the smaller ones. So I think we got to be careful, and we must go all out to help this, what we just mentioned, Lower Mekong Initiative. That initiative needs to be supported by India, openly and as clearly as possible.
Just about 10-15 seconds left, Sumit, for you to make concluding remarks, and then we wrap up. Go ahead.
I think, Vinny, it is rightly said, without water you can survive only for 7 days, while without food you can survive for 30 days. I think the Chinese Communist Party picks up all the evil in the world. They have got this very right. So strangulating people of the water, what General Katoj rightly said, is their idea. That is what they have been trying by building these dams which are of no use to them. And let's not forget, this is one of the most potent river in the whole of South Asia, and it is our time to do our duty, stand up with them, because Mike Pompeo clearly said Japan, South Korea, India, though geographically we are not linked, but politically we have a major role to play, because these countries are small and they need a big brother in Asia, and that big brother is not China. We are the big brother. We are going to stand for them, and they're going to align behind us.
Okay. All right, Sumit, I appreciate your candor, and I appreciate you wearing your heart on your sleeve as well. But unfortunately, we have run out of time.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.